It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Folks, the Patriots of Act 746, they're on a mission to educate the people of Arkansas about the realities of your gun rights, your human right of self-defense here in the state of Arkansas. You need to look them up. It's Patriots of Act 746. Go to Facebook.com, and in the search bar, type in Patriots of Act 746, and there you will see the group. Ask to be a member if you want more information. And we're going to give you a little bit more information right now because we have Mr. John Calvin Martin is on the program again, and he's from the Patriots of Act 746. Good morning, John.
Good morning, my brother. How are you?
I'm doing well. Hey, let's start talking a little bit about some of these meetings that have been going on across the state. Patriots of Act 746 has several chapters across the state that meet regularly. Tell us about that.
Yes, sir. We are, man, I tell you, brother, we're so excited about the interest that is being made in the POA of 746. Seems like every meeting we go to just gets bigger and bigger. The energy is amazing. I was in Melbourne, which is actually not my section, but I just can't hardly stand it. I got to be with these folks. They are true Americans, red-blooded Americans, and I went into Melbourne last Saturday, and I'm telling you, the energy in that room, Paul, was amazing. Now, I'm a preacher, and so I look forward to being in rooms like that.
Yeah.
And it was just Tim Loggins just did a great job running everything. That guy, he knows the laws upside, downside, inside, and outside. And we had a lot of new people there, people that are just wondering about their rights. You know, again, and I try to plug this everywhere I go. This is not about being a militia or trying to overthrow anything. It's silly that anybody would loop us in with those groups, because we're not about overthrowing the government. We're just trying to make sure the government doesn't overthrow us.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and there's always people that try to paint conservative groups as really extreme, and you just got to dismiss those folks because it's ridiculous.
That's exactly right. Yeah, we just had our first Southeast POA meeting down here in Southeast Arkansas, and I tell you, it was amazing. It was an amazing deal. I think we had like 25, 26 people there first meeting. There's another new group that just started up in South Arkansas, and that's completely different, of course, from Southeast Arkansas. And they're planning their first meeting. I'm telling you, Paul, it's just amazing what Patriots can do when we get together. You have to forgive me. I'm pretty excited about this deal.
Hey, I can tell. I can certainly tell. I can hear it in your voice.
Yes, sir.
So let's talk a little bit about what's been going on. We had some red flag laws. I mean, people are debating this concept. The Joint Performance Review Committee had Moms Demand Action, the radical anti-Second Amendment group. They spoke a couple of days ago about these red flag laws, about trying to also raise the age of what it takes to buy what they call an assault weapon, which turns out to be a semi-automatic weapon. I mean, what are your thoughts on all this, John?
Well, Paul, it makes me nervous anytime somebody starts talking about trying to update our rights or negate our rights, and that's all a red flag is. A red flag law. Now, just as a little kid, I would hear my mom and dad say, that throws up red flags. Well, that made me feel uncomfortable about the term red flags, because it always meant something, appeared to be something it was not. Are you with me on that?
I'm with you. I understand.
The whole term red flag throws up red flags. And my problem with it is anytime somebody's trying to negotiate my rights, I have a problem with it on anything. Red flag law there's no possible way it cannot infringe on somebody's rights. It's just not possible. It boils down to, forgive me if I'm overexcited about this, but it just aggravates me when people are trying to update my rights. Mm-hmm. Red flag laws I guess I could say as just a simple term means literally that someone that doesn't like you can raise a red flag about your mentality, your mental state, and have your gun rights taken away. They're saying temporarily, but any at all is wrong. Mm-hmm. There's no way it cannot infringe on anybody's rights for the simple fact that If my mother-in-law gets mad at me, then my gun rights are in jeopardy.
Yeah. You know,
There's just no way that's right.
Yeah, the frustrating thing is, you know, charge somebody, charge them with a crime,
Oh,
right? I mean,
sure.
if there's evidence, you know, that's one way that's how you neutralize a threat. Charge somebody with a crime, go arrest them. But
Right.
you know, those laws are already on the books. That's how you can, you know, that there are ways to, you know, quote, take somebody's Second Amendment rights away, and it's when you get
Sure.
arrested, right? You're not entitled to have a gun after, you know, when you've been arrested, obviously. So we already have that, and that's the way it needs to stay. You know, in my opinion. But we've heard, we've seen that the General Assembly, they look like that they're open to this. We have heard from some Republicans, you know, former Republicans as well on Facebook saying, hey, listen, red flag laws are inevitable, so you just, you know, we got to let the GOP write these red flag laws to make sure that it, you know, it'll be basically a uniparty solution and not the far left solution. But, you know, any infringement is unacceptable in my opinion, especially when we have, you know, so many Republicans in control.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and I think the one of the key words of the statements you just made was Republicans. I'm not sure. We're going to have to define that a little better. I'm not sure where we are on that, because true conservatives have never fallen for the farce of a red flag law, and that's all it is. It's just another infringement, another speed bump on the life of conservatism. It's just another way to try to slow us down, deter us from the actual highway that we're on here, and that is simply that. And I don't want to again sound too crazy here, but all gun laws are an infringement, and that's simply put. So red flag laws to me are just they throw up red flags.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it's
literally.
Talk a little bit about a lot of this comes from the human desire, you know, to try to guarantee, try to eliminate risk, I guess. I mean, that's really what they're saying is like we need to do this because we're trying to eliminate risk, you know, and a lot of people, because they're so terrified of guns, they fall for the liberal talking points, the scare tactics, if you will. But there's a motivation here that some people really want to guarantee tomorrow. And when you start to do that, you know, their solution, let's be clear what their solution is a less free society. We need less freedom in this case in order to, you know, guarantee something that, if we're really honest about it, they can't guarantee. They can't guarantee your safety. The government can't guarantee that somebody's not going to, you know, do something bad to someone else. And so it's a false promise.
That's exactly right. Well, and it all falls under the whole big government mentality, Paul, of we know how to protect you better than you know how to. We know how to run your life better than you know how to. Trust us. And I think the last time we talked, I told you, you know, growing up, I just fell under that assumption that I had a good government, they would take care of me, and everything was going to be rosy, you know, rainbows and so on and so forth. But the older I get, the more I realize that's not the case. They don't know. Was it Reagan who said that when we decide that a far distant group in a land, you know, can handle our freedoms better than we can, then we are a nation gone under.
Yeah.
And I believe that, beyond a shadow of a doubt. It's all about personal responsibility. You know, even in the Bible, and again, everything that's gun-related nowadays is about the weapon. Everybody's trying to take the weapon away. It's always the gun's fault. When actually the first mass murder was when Cain slew Abel, and that was with a rock. Mm-hmm. So are we going to ban rocks? You know, and I say mass murder because, you know, 4 people and 4 of them were killed. So.
Yeah, 25% of the, yeah, that's pretty funny.
25% of the population, you know.
Well, so talk about that. Talk about that, John. So, you know, John Calvin Martin, folks, he's a pastor who's he got a great name, by the way, if you know, to be a pastor. We've talked about that one before. But so I just would like to, I'd like to kind of pick your brain. Do you ever get that question, like, how can you as a pastor, you know, be for the Second Amendment or be for arming yourself or anything else? I mean, I could give an answer to that, but I mean, how do you respond when people? It's almost like they're trying to call you a hypocrite in some way, right?
Right. Well, my first response, and I had this happen just a few weeks ago. A guy asked me, said, "How can you, as a preacher, carry a weapon? Don't you trust God?" And my quick response to him was, I said, "Oh, I trust God. He's never tried to rob me. I carry a gun because of men, because they have tried to rob me."
Yeah.
I think it gets deep, and you got to go into all the things from Genesis all the way. You can prove this, but the thing people want to do is they want to say throw up the 10 Commandments and say, thou shalt not kill. Man, I agree with that 100%. But that is talking about intent. My heart's intent is never to kill somebody, but my heart's intent is always to defend my family and my property and my rights. And so there's a world of difference in killing and defending.
Mm-hmm.
When Jesus, now you flip to the New Testament, Jesus told his disciples as he sent them out, he said, if you don't have a sword, go buy one. In fact, he went to the point of say, sell your garments to buy one. In other words, your protection, your bodily protection is more important than your protection from the elements. And I know that's pretty steep, and that's going to stir everything up, but that's what Jesus said. Mm. And so another thing, as I was preparing for this interview, that dropped in my mind, is in Matthew chapter 10, Jesus told his disciples, he said, "I'm sending you out among wolves. Be wise as serpents and harmless as doves." Now, that's the non-2A people have always used that as a rebuttal. You're supposed to be harmless as doves. Well, I get that. But why didn't Jesus say be wise as a dove?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You see, and the reason he said that was this. You can't trust a snake.
Right.
A snake will attack you whether it's provoked or not.
Mm-hmm.
A dove will not. A dove's automatic reflex is flight, leave, run, get away from the trouble. Unless, and I've lived this firsthand, unless you start messing with his children. Mm. You start messing with his children, it's going to stay there and fight, because that's what God put in every creature. It is normal, it is natural, it is our right to defend our children, our family. When I became married, when I got married, which is pretty, unusual. Everybody didn't know if I even would, but I got married, and my responsibility is to protect my wife and my girls. Bottom line, and whether that affects, offends you or not, I'm okay with that offending you. Mm. That doesn't bother me at all, because my right, my God-given responsibility is to protect my family and my wife. And
yeah.
I'll tell you, brother, I'm going to do it, whether it's with a fork or butter knife or whatever, or rock, whatever it takes.
Let me ask you this on that subject. Did you see the Salt Bowl, controversy where there was a fake report or somebody thought they heard gunshots and everybody started scrambling?
Yes.
And did you see those people filing out? I mean, it was so scary to think. I just thought of sheep to the slaughter. Nobody.
That's exactly
It's
right.
Gun-free zone. What were your thoughts?
Well, that's exactly what I thought. I'm amazed, and because I was raised around weapons and guns and raised my girls around guns, I just don't get the mentality of sheer terrified, petrified fear of a weapon or a sound of a weapon or supposedly a sound of a weapon. I don't get people being locked up like that in their own fear, but there are actually people that do. To me, and again, let me reference this back. That's why we're doing the Patriots of Act 746. We want to educate people that a sound should not terrify you to the point that you become a target. Mm. That you literally, if somebody had been outside, man, it would have been a fish in a shooting bowl. It's just been an easy thing. So, and as the old adage says, the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Mm-hmm. And so back to POA, Paul, that's not our whole intent is to try to educate people. We're not mean. We're not violent. We never want to hurt anybody. We want to educate people to understand your rights, your God-given inalienable rights, are to be able to protect yourself. And if you don't have the Second Amendment, none of the other amendments matter.
That's exactly right. Hey, John Calvin Martin with the Patriots, Vac 746. Very well said, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, my brother. Have
All
a
right.
great day.
Yes, sir. You too, folks. It's the Patriots of Act 746. You just go to Facebook, type them in, Patriots of Act 746. And it's a closed group, but request to be a member and become part of the online sensation today. We've got to take